Let's talk about something people avoid because it hits too close. And that is like what happens after heartbreak. Not when you're crying, not when you're grieving, but when time has passed and let's say life has moved on and the heartbreak hasn't actually finished. So, this episode, it's not going to be about blaming. It's not about shaming. It's not about calling you broken or unhealed. It is about telling the truth. And that is unfinished heartbreak. It doesn't disappear quietly. It doesn't just fade with time. It shapes how you show up. It's how you protect yourself. It's how you love and sometimes how you hurt people without realizing it. So if you feel defensive already, stay. If you feel called out, stay. If something tightens in your chest, stay. This isn't an attack. It's an invitation to look honestly with love at what pain becomes when it's never allowed to complete. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fuck Your High Vibes podcast. I am Nicole Love. Welcome to today's episode. What we become when heartbreak isn't finished. Let's just pause here and just sit with that statement. Let's get clear about what I mean by unfinished heartbreak. Like what unfinished heartbreak actually is. I always find it lands much more impactfully when I start approaching it from like what it doesn't mean. So unfinished heartbreak, it doesn't mean that you're still crying every day, that you miss the person constantly and that you want them back. It's much more quieter than that in terms of what unfinished heartbreak is for today's episode and what we're talking about. And so how it shows up is you could be saying like I'm good now, but your body may still flinch a little bit. Like you hear the person's name and you're kind of like, ooh, yeah, okay. Or another one I hear all the time, I'm over it. But then intimacy feels unsafe. Doesn't feel safe to be intimate. Or I've healed. I hear this all the time. I've healed from that relationship. And yet love feels exhausting. And I talked a little bit about this in the previous episode, and I really felt compelled to go deeper because that was more speaking from the standpoint of what to do when it's right there, when it happens. It helps you to understand it. But what if you're like years removed from it and you recognize the heartbreak has been unfinished? And I talked about heartbreak finishes when the nervous system returns to felt safety. It has to feel safe in order to complete the cycle, to close that loop. I'm talking about the stress cycle here. So I'll repeat that again. Heartbreak finishes, it completes when the nervous system returns to felt safety. So that means it's not when the story makes sense. No. It's not when you forgive or not when you understand the lesson. Safety. It's about safety. And if safety doesn't return, the body adapts. Our body is magical and wonderful in all its its functions and what have you. And so if safety doesn't return, the body adapts. And so the nervous system, it doesn't wait for closure. And from that, it creates protection. So when heartbreak isn't finished, what your system is saying is that I need to make sure this never happens again. Because the nervous system is focused on protection. And that's where things start to shift. So how the body starts to adapt now that it's in that protection phase that I was talking about, when that heartbreak isn't finished, protection then becomes the identity. Protection becomes identity. And so the body, it stays alert, and the heart stays guarded, and the mind stays vigilant, right? Because protection mode becomes the identity. That's the adaptation that has happened from this heartbreak. And over time, this stops feeling like protection. It really starts feeling like who you are now. Because that becomes your identity. Your body has adapted to this identity. And this is where you may find yourself having said, I'm just more guarded. You may say, I don't trust easily. Or I have high standards. I don't need anyone. I'm independent now. And some of that might be true. And here's the loving truth. Sometimes what we call standards are actually scars. And scars, they don't make us weak. But they do change how we move. Your scars change how you move. Think of like if you have scar tissue, or if you have like a scar. Like I have scars on my body, and that part of my body is never going to be the same. And so there's a different way that area in my body moves. The cells have reset to producing whatever or however based on that scar. So they change how we move, how things move in the body. And this unfinished heartbreak, what happens is it starts to train the nervous system to avoid emotional risk, because protection becomes the mode. Protection becomes the focus for the nervous system. So it's avoiding emotional risk. There's this seeking of, there's like this controlling of closeness, the need to control being close. Attempting to stay one step ahead. It can look like that. It can look like attempting to keep the upper hand of things, or this is a big one. I'm going to leave first. And the thing to note about this is that it's not because you're manipulative. It's because your body remembers that pain. And because you're in this protection phase, because the heartbreak isn't finished, that stress loop hasn't been closed out, the body moves into protection, and protection becomes the identity. And so because this becomes the identity, the body adapts, and thus the nervous system becomes trained by this identity with this heartbreak to avoid the emotional risk and controlling closeness and access, trying to stay one step ahead. You're in full on protection mode. Everything you do comes through that filter of I need to maintain this protection phase and mode that I have been activated, that I am activated in. It becomes your identity. It's how you approach everything. Every interaction comes from that mode that you're in of protection. So this is the part people avoid. So I'm going to say this slowly with love. I do this from a place of love. Most honest thing you can do, the most loving thing you can do is to be honest. When heartbreak isn't finished, we become unavailable while craving connection. Because we as humans are wired for connection. We're wired for that connection. And so we want intimacy in theory, but when it shows up, we feel suffocated and irritated or bored. And we can become hyper independent, and we can call it self-love. And underneath that hyper independence is a fear of needing anyone. We have that fear because protection has become the identity. And this is one that I see a lot of times. And I can call, like, I recognize that I have done this before, demanding honesty, but I'm hiding my own truth. And we can say, like, just be real with me while avoiding being vulnerable. It's like, I want you to be real with me, but oh no, that's a you thing, not a me thing. A lot of times we can confuse chemistry with safety. Some people feel like intensity feels familiar, and calm can feel suspicious. Love bombing is a big one. You can love bomb and then retreat. And the thing about love bombing is, if you recognize that you do this, it's not that you're maniacal or evil or what have you, being whatever. It's why this is happening is because closeness, it activates that old pain, old heartbreak. So you love bomb and then you just okay, well, I'm going to leave first. Because identity protection mode of identification has been activated. You need to protect at all costs. And we punish new people for old wounds. I did that with my current partner when we first got together. He was, oh man, the amount of heartbreak that I had experienced by the time I met him, a lot of it came from childhood and having a lack of a safe, loving connection with my father. And I punished him for something that he didn't even do and didn't even know about that had been done. And so we punish new people for old wounds, and they didn't hurt us. They're not the ones that hurt us, but they're paying for someone who did. And he paid for what my father did in previous relationships as well. And they didn't hurt us. They're not the ones that hurt us. And even if you don't mean to, this unfinished heartbreak, your unfinished heartbreak can still affect the people around you. And you may not intend to hurt anyone, but your pain, it shows up in the way you love and protect or distance yourself. And so your actions matter even when your intentions are good. And that's not a judgment. That's responsibility. And responsibility, it doesn't mean shame. It means awareness. And awareness, that's what frees. There's a freedom in the awareness, being aware of, oh, wow, I'm punishing him because of what happened with my dad. So it's important to know how it shows up for you, how you are, what does this being activated in this unfinished heartbreak, in this protective phase that you are in.
I think we should do a mid-episode check-in. Let's do it.
So let's pause here. I'm going to do a grounding check-in here this episode. So if this is landing heavy, let's take this opportunity to kind of pause. If this is landing heavy for you, let's pause here. Let's signal to our body that it's safe to touch into these tender parts that may be activated at this time. So putting one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly and taking a breath, breathing in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Just focus on your breathing. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And if that's too hard for you to do, just focus on breathing in through your nose, in and out. And the reminder here is that this episode is not saying that you're wrong or that you're failing or that you shouldn't love. The intention is to pay attention, to have the awareness, because as I said, awareness brings that freedom. Awareness is freedom. So pay attention. Awareness is how patterns stop repeating. So if you feel exposed or tender or called out right now, it doesn't mean that you're being attacked. It means something honest is being touched. So stay with yourself and stay present and breathe. Always remember to breathe. If you feel overwhelmed, focus on your breath. Give your mind something to focus on, and that's breathing. So with that reminder to breathe, let's hop back into this episode. So what's the consequence here when it comes to unfinished heartbreak? The thing about unfinished heartbreak is that it doesn't stay contained inside of you. It affects how safe people feel with you. It affects how consistent you are in your life and in everything that you do. Unfinished heartbreak, it doesn't stay contained inside of you because it affects how open you allow love to be. And it also affects how much emotional labor others carry in being in connection with you. So even if you don't mean to, your heartbreak can show up in the way that you love and protect and distance yourself. And the truth is, again, your actions matter even when your intentions are good. And the truth that a lot of people don't want to hear is that you don't have to be healed to love, but you do have to be honest. One of the reasons that I'm still in a really healthy and functioning relationship with my partner, we've been together for such a long time, is that I was honest with him about the heartbreak of my relationship with my father. Yes, I had to be vulnerable, 100%. But I realized that I was bleeding out on him and treating him in the same way that I was being treated by my father. So the honesty, being honest and telling people, this broke my heart. Or maybe you've just, your previous relationship from a year ago or what have you, and telling that person what happened in that relationship, how it made you feel. Because a lot of times what can happen is through being honest and feeling seen and honored by the person on the other end that is listening, is the very healing that you need, because your body gets those physical cues of, oh, we're safe. This is safe. And you can start to close out that stress loop. But you have to be honest. So you don't have to be healed to love. I don't think this idea of being healed or fully like having, like moving through the closing out of that loop has to be fully in process. You have to be honest about it. A lot of times people aren't honest. And a lot of times it starts from them not being honest about being aware of how they feel about that emotional bond that has been broken. They're avoidant of it. So the consequence is that it affects things not contained just inside you. It bleeds out to every single person, place, or thing that you come in contact with. And so when you're not honest, people are just so confused. And I remember when I told my partner when we first started kind of talking and getting to know each other. And I'm not gonna lie, it took a couple of years, because I met him when I was in my mid to late 20s, so no, my mid 20s. So I didn't quite have the articulation around, I didn't understand nervous system. I didn't understand like it's safe to feel and all of that. But what I can say is that once I did tell him, I got to a place of like, you know what, I was tired. I was just so tired. And he was so patient and so kind and so loving that I felt the need, I felt safe, honestly. I felt safe to be honest with him. But it was hard. It was really hard to tell him about that heartbreak. And it wasn't until after I told him that I remember him saying, like, okay. He got so much clarity and insight. And the longer that we've been together, because we've been together for forever, there's a level of being honest in our relationship that he has an understanding of, like, why I may respond in certain ways. So it has removed that level of confusion from him. And so when you're not honest with people about what is showing up, what is contained within you that is bleeding out, they're confused. They have no idea why you are engaging or reacting to them in this way. They're confused because they don't know, because you haven't been honest about what's going on with you, what's contained within you that is showing up in that connection and in that relationship with that person. And you're not being honest about it. But you have to start by being honest with yourself through the awareness. Start there. And also that you can move on and start to connect and put yourself out there too. But it does require honesty, being honest with people so they're not confused. Where, they don't feel pulled in, then pushed away. They may feel blame for needs you never named. These are all things that I remember, like I was that person in the relationship with my my partner at the beginning stages of our relationship. And the thing about that confusion, that's how heartbreak gets passed on. That's how heartbreak gets passed on. Our heart has been broken. And so we're in this this phase of protection becomes the identity. And we become not safe to be around other people. And we break other people's hearts because we're not being honest about the heartbreak. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. We have to take responsibilities for our feelings about our life. What's happened has happened. Can't make it unhappen. So how do you finish this heartbreak safely? Because this safely matters when we're speaking from a nervous system. You have to do everything safety in order for change to happen. This is not just even a heartbreak thing. This is like if you want to change a habit, your body has to feel safe to do that, to change that habit. And that's why I say going small and consistent over time, build your capacity for that allowance. So finishing heartbreak, it doesn't mean forgetting about the fucking heartbreak that happened, why your heart is fucking broken. It's not about forgetting. It's also not about forgiving maybe too soon. Making peace with the story. That's not what finishing heartbreak means. It means letting the body complete the stress cycle. So what do I mean? What does that look like? What is the body completing that stress cycle? It means naming what hurt without minimizing it. Naming the things, naming all the fucking things, naming every single thing without minimizing it. Because if you had the experience, it lives in your body. It lives in your body. It lives in your nervous system. It has recorded it. It has recorded the memory. So name it. Don't minimize it. Finding a way to let grief move instead of hardening is another way. The thing about grief is it looks so different at different times. And it's also so important to allow it to play out in its own time and to try not to give meaning to what that looks like. And this is a big one. So many people struggle with. I struggle with this too, is admitting what changed you, admitting how that heartbreak changed you, no matter where it falls on the scale. It's about honesty, being honest. And then also being honest about your current capacity. Do you currently have the capacity to engage in another relationship with someone right now? You have to be honest about that. Is it safe for you to be with someone else right now when you don't even safe, it doesn't even feel safe to be with yourself? So being honest about your current capacity is crucial. If your current capacity is, I only have the capacity to be with myself and naming what hurts. I'm still in the process of naming what hurts. I'm moving through grief and being honest about how or what changed from that experience. And so finishing heartbreak can look like you may be saying, like, I want love and I'm still learning how to stay. I did that in my relationship with my partner. I wanted to be in a relationship with him. And I was also learning how to stay with being in that relationship with him. And that honesty is love. By me being honest, it shifted something in my nervous system to where my capacity expanded a little bit around doing this safely. This is being approached in a safe way because I honored my capacity by being honest about where I was and what that capacity was. So you can want love and still you're learning how to stay with it. So as we close out, if this episode moved something in you, stirred something in you, that does not mean that you are behind, because maybe you feel called out like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding out on other people. I have caused heartbreak to other people because my heart was broken. This is an opportunity to be aware, to have a greater sense of freedom, to give yourself permission to be honest that I want love and I'm still learning how to stay. That honesty is love. The most loving thing that you can do is to be honest with yourself. And this unfinished heartbreak, it does not make you unlovable. It makes you human. But love, it asks for responsibility. It doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't ask for urgency, responsibility. Love asks for responsibility, and responsibility starts with honesty. The most loving thing that you can do is to be honest. Well, why is that? Because I'm taking responsibility for my actions and my choices in my life, taking responsibility for how I show up in the world, taking responsibility with how I cultivate and expand my capacity to be safe with myself and thus be safe for others. So as we close, be gentle with yourself, be truthful with others where your capacity is right now. And this is the reminder to not confuse protection with healing. So that's it for now. And the reminder here is to go live like you mean it. Go love like you mean it. Go live and love like you mean it. And if this shook you good, now do something with it. And remember to fuck the illusion, embrace your truth. Thanks for watching. I hope you will subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next episode. And comment down below, engage in a way that feels safe for you. Maybe comment the color heart that you feel right now. So I'll leave it there, and I look forward to you until the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.